Welcome to Heart Story, where simple gestures become unforgettable emotional storytelling. Jake, a quiet man from a small town, wrote a heartfelt note to his favorite radio host late one night. In it, he shared his struggles and a message of hope, not expecting much in return. The next morning, something extraordinary happened. The entire town tuned in to hear Jake's story broadcast live, united by his courage and sincerity. This is a tale of vulnerability, community, and how emotional storytelling can bring people together in the most unexpected ways. Join us as we explore the power of one voice to inspire an entire town. Jake's note was simple but heartfelt, describing his journey through loneliness and his hope for brighter days ahead. He never imagined his words would resonate beyond his own heart. The radio host, moved by Jake's honesty, decided to share his story on the morning show. Listeners across town were captivated, finding pieces of their own struggles and hopes in Jake's message. As the broadcast continued, calls poured in from neighbors offering support, encouragement, and stories of their own. The small town buzzed with renewed empathy and connection. Jake listened from home, overwhelmed by the response. For the first time in a long while, he felt seen and valued by his community. What began as a personal letter became a shared emotional storytelling experience, weaving a web of compassion that brought the town closer together. And this was only the beginning of Jake's impact. The morning after the broadcast, Jake received messages, visits, and even a few strangers stopping by just to offer a smile or a handshake. The town, once fragmented by silence and isolation, was now united in a shared story of hope and healing. Local businesses displayed signs of support, and community centers organized gatherings to discuss emotional storytelling and mental health. Jake found new purpose, realizing that his vulnerability had sparked something greater than himself, a collective movement toward connection. The radio host invited Jake back for regular segments, where he continued sharing stories of resilience and encouragement. Together, they transformed the airwaves into a bridge, connecting hearts across the town and inspiring others to share their voices. Jake's story sparked a wave of openness throughout the town. More residents began reaching out to share their struggles and triumphs, creating a culture of emotional storytelling. Local schools invited Jake to speak, where he encouraged students to embrace vulnerability and support one another. Community groups organized workshops focused on mental health, resilience, and the power of sharing personal stories. Jake's journey became a beacon, showing that even in small towns, voices can echo loudly and inspire change. Neighbors who once kept to themselves now connected over shared experiences, building bonds that strengthened the town's fabric. The simple act of sending a note had grown into a movement, knitting together hearts with empathy and hope. One evening, Jake helped organize a community storytelling night at the local library, where residents shared personal tales of resilience and hope. The event was filled with heartfelt moments, laughter, and tears, proof of the healing power of emotional storytelling. Attendees formed support groups, finding comfort in knowing they were not alone. Local leaders recognized the positive impact, allocating resources for mental health programs inspired by Jake's story. Jake felt humbled but motivated, knowing his vulnerability had sparked meaningful change. The town embraced a new identity, one of compassion, connection, and collective healing that would ripple through generations. At the close of the storytelling night, Jake received a letter from a young woman named Emma, who shared how his story had inspired her to seek help and find strength. Her heartfelt message was a testament to the ripple effect of emotional storytelling, how one voice can touch countless lives. Jake realized his journey was no longer just about him, it had become a shared narrative of healing and hope. The town's transformation was underway, fueled by courage, compassion, and connection. As Jake looked out over the crowd, he knew the story was far from over, new chapters awaited, written by countless voices united in empathy. And with every story told, the town grew stronger, weaving a tapestry of resilience and love. Jake's story inspired the creation of a community radio segment dedicated to sharing personal journeys of struggle and triumph. Listeners eagerly tuned in each week, finding comfort and motivation in the raw, honest emotional storytelling. Local musicians, poets, and storytellers contributed, turning the show into a vibrant platform of healing and connection. Schools incorporated the radio program into curricula, teaching students the power of empathy and expression. Jake's influence grew, but he remained humble, focused on amplifying voices that needed to be heard. The town, once silent and isolated, blossomed into a community bound by stories that healed and united. During one broadcast, a caller named Sarah shared her struggle with loss and how Jake's story gave her hope to keep going. The heartfelt exchange moved listeners, prompting a wave of supportive calls and messages flooding the radio station. Community volunteers organized support groups and events inspired by the emotional storytelling on air. Jake saw firsthand how vulnerability could foster strength and unity in a town that once kept its pain hidden. The radio show became a lifeline, connecting people across generations and backgrounds through shared humanity. Together, they crafted a new narrative, one where healing and hope flourished through the power of stories. At a live radio event, Sarah thanked Jake on air, sharing how his story helped her find courage during her darkest moments. Listeners responded with messages of solidarity, creating a wave of compassion that spread throughout the town. Jake realized his vulnerability had sparked a community healing movement, one built on emotional storytelling and genuine connection. The radio show became a beacon of hope, encouraging others to share their stories and support one another. As the event ended, Jake looked out at the gathered crowd, feeling a profound sense of purpose and belonging. Their shared stories wove a tapestry of resilience, reminding everyone that no one is truly alone. The radio show's success inspired Jake to organize workshops on emotional storytelling and mental wellness throughout the town. Residents of all ages attended, eager to learn how sharing personal stories could foster healing and connection. The workshops became safe spaces where vulnerability was embraced, and empathy flourished. Local schools integrated these lessons, teaching students the importance of emotional literacy and community support. Jake witnessed how storytelling united people from diverse backgrounds, breaking down barriers and building trust. The town transformed into a community of listeners and storytellers, bound by compassion and shared experience. One evening, a young woman named Lily bravely shared her journey of overcoming anxiety during the workshop. Her story resonated deeply, inspiring others to open up about their own struggles. The group formed a support network, offering encouragement and resources beyond the workshops. Jake saw firsthand how emotional storytelling could foster resilience and hope in even the most vulnerable. Local leaders began collaborating to expand mental health services, fueled by the community's newfound openness. Together, they built a culture where stories were celebrated as bridges to healing and unity. At the workshop's closing session, Lily received a letter from a stranger who had been inspired by her courage to seek help. The exchange highlighted the far-reaching power of emotional storytelling and community support. Jake reflected on how the radio note he once sent had ignited a movement of healing and connection. Neighbors continued to share stories, strengthening the bonds that united them. The town embraced a new identity, one of empathy, resilience, and hope. And as voices echoed through the airwaves and community halls, the journey of emotional storytelling carried on, lighting the way for those still seeking connection. Jake's radio show inspired a community art project, inviting residents to create murals depicting their stories of struggle and hope. The murals transformed public spaces into vibrant galleries of emotional storytelling, celebrating resilience and unity. Local artists and volunteers collaborated, weaving diverse experiences into colorful, powerful visuals. Schools used the murals as teaching tools, fostering empathy and dialogue among students. Jake witnessed how art amplified voices and connected hearts, turning personal stories into collective strength. The town blossomed into a living canvas of kindness, creativity, and healing. During the mural project, a teenager named Maya shared how the radio show helped her cope with loss and inspired her art. Her story touched many, sparking conversations about grief, healing, and hope within the community. Maya's mural became a centerpiece, symbolizing the transformative power of emotional storytelling and creativity. Community members felt empowered to express their journeys, finding strength in shared vulnerability. Jake and Maya collaborated to host workshops, encouraging youth to tell their stories through various art forms. Together, they nurtured a culture of empathy and connection, ensuring the town's narrative continued to grow. At a community gathering, Maya shared the story behind her mural, the pain, hope, and healing she experienced through emotional storytelling. Her words resonated deeply, inspiring others to embrace vulnerability and support one another. Jake felt immense pride witnessing how his radio show had sparked a movement of empathy and creative expression. The murals became living testaments to resilience, unity, and the power of shared stories. Neighbors pledged to continue the work, ensuring kindness and connection remained at the community's core. As new stories blossomed, the town's tapestry of healing and hope grew ever stronger. The radio show's influence reached neighboring towns, inspiring similar emotional storytelling initiatives. Jake partnered with other hosts, creating a regional network dedicated to sharing stories of resilience and hope. Workshops and community events flourished, turning airwaves into bridges of connection and healing. Local leaders supported the movement, recognizing its role in fostering empathy and mental well-being. Jake's humble note had sparked a wave of kindness that transcended borders, touching countless lives. Together, communities wove a powerful narrative of healing, united by the strength of shared stories. During a regional conference, Jake met Leah, a mental health advocate who used storytelling to reach underserved communities. Inspired by Jake's journey, Leah collaborated with him to expand workshops and radio programs, fostering healing through shared experiences. Their partnership brought hope to many, bridging cultural and social divides with emotional storytelling. Communities embraced the movement, combining technology and tradition to create spaces for connection and support. Jake witnessed how one note had ignited a national conversation about kindness and resilience. Together, they continued stitching stories of hope, transforming lives one voice at a time. At a conference workshop, Leah shared stories of individuals transformed by the power of emotional storytelling. Listeners recounted journeys from despair to hope, crediting the radio show for igniting change. Jake felt humbled, knowing his simple note had blossomed into a movement fostering resilience and community. Together, they pledged to keep the mission alive, weaving stories of kindness and healing across the nation. The airwaves echoed with voices united in empathy, creating a tapestry of shared humanity. And as new stories emerged, the movement's heart grew stronger, promising a future filled with compassion and connection. The storytelling movement caught the attention of national media, leading Jake to be featured on major broadcasts sharing his journey. His message of vulnerability and hope resonated with audiences far beyond his hometown, inspiring similar initiatives nationwide. Community radio stations collaborated, creating a network amplifying stories of resilience and compassion. Jake partnered with mental health organizations, expanding outreach and resources to those in need. The movement grew into a beacon of emotional storytelling, uniting diverse voices and fostering healing. Through every broadcast, Jake reminded listeners that every story matters and every voice can inspire change. At a national conference, Jake met Maya, a storyteller using podcasts to highlight marginalized voices. Inspired by Jake's experience, Maya proposed a collaboration to amplify emotional storytelling across digital platforms. Their partnership expanded the reach of healing narratives, connecting people worldwide. Communities embraced the power of shared stories to foster empathy, reduce stigma, and build solidarity. Jake and Maya's work sparked new initiatives, combining technology and compassion to nurture global connections. Together, they championed a future where every story could be heard, valued, and celebrated. At a digital storytelling gala, Jake and Maya unveiled a virtual tapestry of stories collected from around the world. The event celebrated resilience, courage, and the unifying power of emotional storytelling across cultures and communities. Attendees shared how the movement inspired healing and connection in their own lives. Jake reflected on the journey from a single note to a global chorus of voices united in empathy. The gala became a beacon of hope, reminding everyone that stories transcend borders and bring us closer together. As the virtual audience applauded, Jake felt profound gratitude for every story told and every heart touched. The final chapter began with Jake invited to keynote a national conference on emotional storytelling and community healing. He shared how a simple note to a radio host sparked a movement that transformed lives and communities. His message emphasized vulnerability's strength and the profound impact of sharing our stories. Leaders from diverse backgrounds committed to fostering spaces for emotional storytelling, recognizing its power to heal and unite. Jake felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing his journey inspired change far beyond his small town. The story concluded with a call to action, encouraging everyone to share their stories and build connections that foster hope and resilience. Following the conference, Jake connected with organizations nationwide, sharing strategies to nurture emotional storytelling in communities. Workshops, support groups, and radio segments inspired by Jake's journey flourished across the country. Communities embraced storytelling as a tool for empathy, healing, and social change. Jake marveled at how a single note had sparked a nationwide movement of kindness and connection. Together, they committed to sustaining the momentum, ensuring emotional storytelling remained a beacon of hope for future generations. The legacy of one voice amplified into a chorus that continues to inspire and unite. As the movement grew, Jake stood surrounded by voices lifted through emotional storytelling, each sharing courage and hope. His journey proved that even the smallest act, a simple note, can ignite a powerful wave of connection and healing. If this story moved you, take a moment to share your own story or support initiatives that nurture kindness and understanding in your community. Every voice matters, and every story has the power to transform lives. Join us in spreading emotional storytelling, one story, one heart, one community at a time. Together, we can build a world where no one feels alone, and everyone's story is heard.